A very common claim during debates is to provide a statistical correlation and then assert that one of the correlating values is the cause of the other one. A simple structure for this would be that an increase in A correlates with an increase in B, and therefore A causes B. While it indeed could be true that A causes B, correlation alone is not evidence for it. The reason for this is because it ignores potential confounding variables that are not present in the correlation presented. A confounding variable would be any other correlating and related factor. Pointing out the correlation itself is not a fallacy. It only becomes a fallacy once the claim is made that they are causally linked because of it. An example used a lot to show that correlation does not imply causation is that of global warming, in which the global temperature rise correlates with the decline in the number of active pirates, the swashbuckling kind, not the torrenting type. The fallacy would then be the claim that the decreasing number of pirates causes global warming. The confounding variables that this does not take into account would be things such as the increase in CO2 in the atmosphere, or the increased prevalence of modern military technology that renders traditional piracy near impossible. To prove that the correlation is in fact causation, the confounding variables would need to be removed. This can be done by either creating an otherwise unchanging and scientific environment, or by modifying the original correlation to take into account the known effects of the confounding variables. A modern example of this fallacy would be the gender wage gap argument. The correlation presented is that a difference in gender correlates with a difference in average earnings over a lifetime. This is most commonly be calculated by taking the average lifetime earnings of each gender, and then declaring that this is down to discrimination based on gender. This claim ignores the confounding variables, some of which would be education, degree choices, degree qualification, career choice, different job titles, different companies they work for, maternity leaves, hours worked, days of the week worked, and total years worked. There are many more that I could list, but there are only so many hours in a day. Another common use of the fallacy is when the difference in firearms-related deaths in the UK and the US is used as an argument for gun control. Usually it's presented that the UK, which has strict gun regulations, has far lower gun death rate than the US, which has laxer gun regulations. The fallacy is the claim that therefore gun regulations prevent deaths. The reason it is a fallacy to claim such a thing based on that correlation is that it does not take into account historical statistics, such as the UK's gun death rate when firearms were available. It also doesn't take into account the differences in knife-related deaths, both before and after the gun regulations, the differences in types of death, be it suicide, murder or self-defense, and the differences in policing strategies, and so on. Now, to point out, none of this directly means that the claims made are untrue, but instead it means that the evidence provided for the claim, by means of statistical correlation, do not in fact prove the claim, and that the further study would be needed to prove it. Correlation is also alone not enough to disprove a suggestion either. If someone suggested that an increased number of pirates would cause an increased global temperature, for example, the correlation with the decreasing number of pirates and an increase in global temperature would still not take into account the same confounding variables. For example, if you took out the confounding variables, the chart may in fact actually reverse, if the confounding variables have an effect greater on the outcome than the effect of the pirates. This means that the pirates could still, hypothetically speaking, have the stated effect, but of course the person making such a claim would still need evidence of their own to support it. I hope this helps you spot when people are using correlation as evidence in an argument, and perhaps even look at your own arguments in case you are using the fallacy yourself, and make yourself a better debater because of it.